Our Law and Justice segment tonight, former National Security Advisor Michael Flynn warned in 2014 against accepting money from foreign entities. He did it anyway. Now it's coming back to bite him. Lawmakers on the House Oversight Committee say Flynn may have broken the law by not discussing his dealings with Russia. So shouldn't President Trump's critics be giving him credit for firing Flynn months ago? Take a look.
Personally, I see no information or no data to support the notion that General Flynn complied with the law, and that is he was supposed to seek permission and receive permission from both the Secretary of State and the Secretary of the Army prior to traveling to Russia to not only accept that payment, but to engage in that activity. I see no evidence that he actually did that.
With me now, Chairman of Gator PAC, retired Air Force Colonel Rob Maness. Colonel Maness, good to see you, sir.
It's good to be back, Liz.
All right, talk to me about this. This is quite the story. I mean, General Michael Flynn reportedly warned back in 2014, this was long before the Trump campaign began, that he should not be accepting money from foreign entities, and he seemed to do it anyway.
Well, he probably was counseled when he went through the retirement process and signed a document that stated that fact, and that's actually true, you know. He should have reported that he was going to get these payments. Now, as far as him telling the government that he was going to travel to give the speech, it's my understanding that he did provide documents to the Department of Defense and the DIA about that. I'm wondering if there's more to this story and that the politicians are maybe making a little bit more out of it by limiting their talking points and leaving all of the story out.
Wait a minute. You mean to tell me you suspect that our government, our media is exaggerating a story that could reflect badly on Trump? Please say it ain't so.
Hashtag fake news media and fake news coming out of a politician's mouth. Come on.
Right. All right. But in all seriousness here, I mean, if this did happen, if he disclosed the fact that he went on this trip to Russia, but he didn't disclose that he was paid, you know, $30,000 or however much it was by RT to make that appearance, I mean, how serious of an error is that? Is that against federal law?
It is against federal law, but it's a lot less serious of an error if he had tried to hide the visit and the trip itself and not told the government about it. That makes all the difference in the world when you have these lefties out there like Elijah Cummings saying, well, it just looks terrible. There's no evidence that he did the proper thing and those kinds of things. And that's true. He made some errors, definitely, and they did violate law from what I can tell. But it's not that he was being untoward about it. He was telling people. He actually provided information. And I think with the Defense Intelligence Agency, he even came back and gave a briefing on what he saw and heard, according to the sources that I've seen.
I mean, I certainly hope so. Like you said, the facts that we have right now, even from the Republican congressman on the Oversight Committee, does not look particularly good for Flynn. I mean, I actually commend President Trump for firing Flynn when he did. Perhaps it was a hatchet job at the time, but it doesn't seem to be the case now. It seems to be the case that Flynn did something wrong. And I commend Trump for wanting to make sure that his administration and everyone involved is in very good standing, that there's not even the appearance of conflict of interest. That's very important to me. But let me push back just a little bit on this. I mean, why would the White House refuse the Oversight Committee the documents pertaining to General Flynn if, in fact, he was innocent?
That makes no sense to me. I think we need to press Sean Spicer on what he said because, you know, the documents are not that voluminous, I think was the phrase that he used.
Right.
And it makes absolutely no sense, especially when, like you, I commend President Trump for firing General Flynn when he did. He made a good decision based on limited information, but it turned out it was the right decision. So he's got the good instincts that all of us that voted for him and still support him think that he does. So you know, we just need to get to the bottom of it. They do need to provide the documents. It's a routine matter, or should be a routine matter, and all of this partisan bickering and politicization of things like security documents that are filled out should not be brought into this process. And keep in mind, though, even the Republican politicians on Capitol Hill, a lot of those and most of them actually don't think Donald Trump's one of them anyway. So you're going to have tit for tat from each side.
I have plenty of confidence in the White House that they can put the effort in to find these documents. I mean, they were the ones that combed through all those computer records, all the logs of Susan Rice requesting for those names to be unmasked. If they want to find something, they know how to find it. They don't need to plead the ignorance on here. Colonel Maness, let me ask you one more question, though. This has to do with, I guess, military protocol here. Congressman Chaffetz said that the U.S. Army would actually issue the final determination on whether General Flynn violated the emoluments clause of the Constitution. What happens? I mean, what's the process there for the Army?
Well, the service, in this case, the United States Army, for retired officers has to go through a process because we're still subject to the Uniform Code of Military Justice and the law. And if we broke the law that's applicable under the UCMJ, which this issue is, then the Army gets the responsibility for seeing if that law was broken and then taking the appropriate action. It could even go to a court-martial for General Flynn if the investigation warrants that from the Army before it would go to a civilian court.
Right, and they're telling me I'm out of time, but I got to ask, I mean, do you expect it to get to that level? Do you think the investigation would lead to enough information that a court-martial would be warranted?
I don't believe that it will. It appears to me that it was an egregious administrative error on General Flynn's part. If somebody else was involved in the process, then he put his trust in a staff person that didn't do a very good job, but it's more than likely that he missed it. And he made a grave error, and I think that that's the way it's going to go down. He has been fired. He's not in government service anymore, and I'm not sure what the status of his security clearance is, but that would probably be coming into question too.
Right. Well, I appreciate your analysis. I mean, I hope for his sake and for the sake of the American people, for the sake of our confidence in the Trump administration, that all the facts here do come out, that we know the truth, and that it's not quite so politicized as it's been. Colonel Maness, thanks for being here today.